What is up, my beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of the Be Original Show, exclusively on WBDY. I'm your host, Kevin Oriole, aka DJ KO Yo, and tonight we'll be spending time with a musical duo who brings the soulful sounds of R&B, like Al Jarreau or Stevie Wonder, to the rock and jam band styles of Grateful Dead and Fish. This dynamic and very talented partnership call themselves Front and Main, who are Paul Shotwell and Michael Wu. Tonight, we'll get into their music and their story, but first, let's listen to Watching the Stars right here on WBDY's Be Original.
Spent a while in the dark.
Before COVID, I went to Ransom Steel in Appalachian, and I saw Michael playing with a band. I'm not sure what band it was. You had horns. It was kind of a jazz thing.
Yeah, it was Triple Down.
Triple Down.
Yeah, that'd be my jazz project that I've done on the side, in and out of other projects for 10 years now, something like that. I think it was 2013 or 2014, so even longer. Yeah, I lost COVID. Probably took a year off when I got real busy, but I don't know. The last several years for me, jazz has been my absolute favorite to listen to try to play, and I don't play it as often anymore since actually after COVID, but as a medium in a genre and a style, that's really what I enjoy the most. Right, we're currently listening to right now.
Well, I was super impressed because I think you did a Victor Wooten song. There was some kind of bass heavy tune that you did.
Probably Wolfpack.
Huh.
Probably Wolfpack. That's the name of that tune? Deantown.
Okay.
Yeah, Deantown. So it is busy. It's pretty bass heavy, yeah.
Yeah. So I saw that, and I'm a bass player myself, and I said, I got to watch this guy. I got to see where else he plays. And so on Instagram, I kind of was like looking around, and then I saw this Front and Main, collaboration coming out, and so I was really excited to like hear it. So how did you guys hook up?
So actually, that show that you were there, you probably didn't know it, but I would have been working at the Ransom Steel doing sound for the bands. And that is kind of how we met and got to know each other a little bit. He would come down with some of his other bass player friends, and they would do stogie nights and hang out and talk shop and do stuff. And I was always up and down and in and out of the green room and just kind of hanging out, doing sound, hanging with the bands. And we developed a bit of a rapport in that fashion, became friends, smoked some stogies, and then I started playing D&D with him and his kids.
Yeah,
and
that's true. That's a true story.
yeah, so that's kind of where we got linked up. But Front and Main started actually during COVID. We actually would go over to another friend's house and don't tell the government, but we would get chicken wings and hang out and have a few beers. And,
Less than 6 feet together?
yeah, just on opposite corners of the room, as far away as we could be. They locked me in the bathroom to record vocals.
That's a good place to record, I hear.
Yes. Yeah, but actually we would get together just because we were going crazy. There was nothing else to do. Mm-hmm. So once a week we would get together, and it seemed like either him or Cooper Casterline would show up with some kind of a riff or some kind of I was having this kind of idea, and then I'd let the two of them go off turning an idea into a song while I was sitting there with my notepad just scribbling down some nonsense lyrics. And by the end of a couple hours we would be ready for me to record some vocals, and we'd have a demo drawn up of a song. So we did that quite a few weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And then the songs just kind of went dormant for a while.
It was an interesting thing. It was good. I think by when we got together, I think we got together right after Thanksgiving, and we were just like, why aren't we getting together and just writing? Let's just write, because you got three people who write. You got a vocalist, and we had talked for years about doing something. So Paul would hang out, like he was saying, in the green room and got to know each other, and sometimes before shows he would bring up his ukulele and sing and whatnot, and it really, no one kind of knew you were a singer, like no one, I'd been playing around the area for a long time, doing predominantly original stuff, and no one knew you were a singer. But here he is. He's wailing away. When my other bands have been playing in there, and then in 2017 we got a itch to do these big tribute shows, right, and a one-off. And that's when he and I first started kind of working together. So we put together a 9-piece band, and we did a whole night of
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
A whole night of that at Ransom. It was really well received. It was a very good show. I had 9 people, so we could cover all the instrumentation from the album, and that was like a really thing to be as authentic to the album as we could.
It went well enough that it was supposed to just be a one-off show, and we ended up having to do 4 or 5 more.
Yeah, we got booked, and the money was too good to turn down. So
great.
Well, yeah, but that was it. It's like, for 9 people, right? And then the next year in 2019, we decided to do let's do this once a year because it was so much fun. So 2019 we came back and we did a whole night of the Eagles, and again with the big same band, right? Big 9-piece. So Paul was singing a lot of those lead vocals in both shows. COVID hits, everything shut down. We had gotten together. So Cooper Casteline's another, regional musician. He's playing with Jim Cotta now and touring with them. But Cooper and I had worked a lot together in Triple Down. We'd worked a lot. Actually, both of us backed up Tim Rufo for a while. We were subs to come in when his regular players couldn't play. And let's see, we had gotten together. And we're like, we got to do something because everybody's going stir crazy, right? People want to get out. We're creative people. We want to, want to work, right? We want to do work, and we're all friends. We want to hang out. So once a week we put the challenge on. It was a challenge. It was just like, let's start with a riff. Let's start with an idea, and our goal at the end of 2 to 3 hours is to have a demo. And, why not? Cooper had all his recording stuff there. All the instruments, we just show up and do exactly what Paul said. There would be a riff, a lick, an idea. I think Tom Petty's drummer was the MIDI drummer that we programmed in because he played
perfect.
It was perfect.
Great.
So
pocket.
it's bass and guitar and vocals, just the 3 of you.
Yeah, and then we'd MIDI the drums in. Cooper plays keys also, so there was some synth in there, and like the first. We went 6 weeks straight, I think, and produced a song on those first 6 weeks. And then, by the time we stopped getting together, things were starting to open up again, and people were playing a little bit more. So this would be, spring 2021, somewhere in there.
And at that point, none of us were really like looking to be a band or make it. We were just writing stuff to write stuff, kind of thing. Yep. So all the songs just kind of went dormant, and we were like, I'll go back to doing our thing. And then there was a few albums from some local Ithaca musicians that were coming out of all these solo artists that were just putting out original stuff a few years later. And we was like, man, if all of these guys are released, like let's release some stuff. We're ready. We're ready to do it.
We're sitting, what was it? I was going through cleaning up my drive or whatever, freeing up room, whatever like that. And I ran across the session files, and I listened back to a couple, and I went, okay, all right. I'm hypercritical of the stuff that I do. I'm probably my own worst critic. We all are our own worst critics, I think, right? As players, as writers, as artists, right? But if I go back and listen to something and I'm like, okay, no, this got legs. This sounds good. I almost think that I can do that objectively. I don't fall in love with my own stuff. And especially this was co-written, right? So it was a lot of other elements that figured into it. But when I heard it back, I think I texted you and Coop and said, why are we sitting on these? We could go and finish these tomorrow. Like, we could just go drop in the studio. All of us have done a lot of studio work. We could just go in and just hammer these out, release them. Why not, right? Coop was just getting in, hired as front of house engineer for Jim Cotta, and they had just come back. So this fast forwards, so this was the end of 2022. He had just gotten hired into them. He was touring with them, and he was just there was just no way. He was out of town every weekend. Time. Yeah, no time, and we ain't got that. So I was like, Paul, I think we should really do something. And I said, let's. So we made a plan. We said, let's take the songs that we still like. Let's finish them. We'll finish them all the way up go in the studio and finish them. And if we like them, if we like what we produce, because they still needed some production stuff, right?
Okay.
They needed to be built. They needed to be turned into the finished products that we have.
Right.
And I said, let's go in, let's do it. We'll get our friends to go in, session musicians, and we started writing a new batch of tunes, and we were like, okay, I think this got legs if we're enjoying it.
Because we went in for a first session with all the old stuff from
Yes.
the COVID lockdown, and after doing those 4 tunes in the studio, we were like, all right, that was fun, that was easy, this group of people gets it, like everybody is doing exactly what they need to do, that was easy enough. Let's write some more songs and do it again and get enough to put an album together.
So Paul and I, so we didn't have Coop that for the second batch. It was just Paul and me, and that was another stretch. Cooper's a very good songwriter. He's a very, very musical person. He knows his stuff. When you're working with that and you can collaborate with someone like that on that level, it's like it's almost hard to lose them, right? Because you're kind of listening to ideas. But the way that it's worked out now is that I think Paul is so good at developing melody lines that we can come and if we got it in our heads too to write, we're gonna write everything we write is gonna be around his voice. They say I already play in other bands. If I already play other styles, I can also do that. This should be just around the vocals. As a matter of fact, I think I'm like vocals and drums. That's what you need. Go listen to Tom Petty's albums. Say anything from his solo stuff from the late '80s through the mid '90s. It's his voice and it's the drums. Those are the loudest things in there because that's what's driving the whole music. It's almost, he does get complex in his in some of his arrangements, and there are a lot of parts going on, but all the people are playing just what they need to play. He's got a 6-7 piece band or whatever the Heartbreakers are, and they did most of his solo stuff anyway. It should have been called Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers maybe, but they were a big influence for me as a writer, just when I put my mindset on, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, it's got to be his voice. Everything else is backing that up.
It's super soulful. It does sound like that. It sounds like you're right in the pocket with the music and the songs.
I think that's one of my favorite compliments that we get is when people are like, oh, I saw 7 people on stage and I thought it was going to blow my eardrums out, but everybody just knows when to play and when to shut up. Like there's nobody that's like trying to hog the spotlight or be Mr. Big, and everybody knows what needs to be done to serve the song.
So Paul, when did you start singing?
I've been singing my whole life, probably early on to the chagrin of my parents, but
Why is that?
because I just never stopped.
Can't this kid shut up?
But yeah, music goes a long way back for me, going over to family traditions. On my mom's side of the family, it was all Tom Petty and the Beatles, and those CDs were just on repeat over and over again, and that's the only thing they listened to at holidays. So that was like ingrained in me from a very young age, and everybody was singing along and doing all of that. But I had a really broad range of musical influences because my dad was heavy into classic rock and a lot of that stuff, Rush and Black Sabbath and those kind of artists. And then I would go out to the lake house with my grandpa. He'd put on polka on the AM radio. So I was listening to everything. My mom would always have country music on the radio when I was growing up. So I got a good mix of everything. And I always just found it so interesting. I feel like a lot of people miss out on lyrical content because they're just listening to melodies and just the way the song goes. So I've gotten very into sometimes I will speak lyrics to people instead of singing them to be like, I know it's catchy, but listen to the actual words behind it. And that is something that I've picked up from a lot of different places, but country music is huge for that. For just getting that deep lyrical content. And that's something that I try to into my lyrics when I can.
And on the general, you seem pretty positive. Like the lyrics seem to me very uplifting.
Yeah, I think especially some of the stuff that we've released so far, the things that were written during COVID times, I was very much I think we need a boost. We need maybe a glimmer of hope on the horizon, right? We need something to look forward to. We see gloom and doom everywhere else in the news cycle, so hopefully I can offer something a little more positive than that.
Let's talk a little bit about I Know. What's the tune about?
That was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the first one we did with the Cooper sessions in COVID. I had kind of that main riff, the main chord progression, and I had, I think, somewhat of the first verse, and then an idea of like the theme of the song. And I am not a great lyricist, so I always tell Paul, here's some ideas, go make this better, you know, or I say, throw it all out and make your own. It's okay. I know that's not my that's never been my strong point as a composer. I live in the music. I'm one of those people he just described. I mess up our own lyrics. I make our own words up when I'm singing because I don't remember them, but I remember the melody. You know, I remember the notes.
Right.
So I know. I think I Know was my response to, let's call it the absolute cesspool that social media turned into 2014, 2015, 2016, and it has carried through to today. And that's kind of the
trying to have a discussion or an argument online, but the other person already knows everything. That
Right.
It's impossible to convince anyone of any kind of different opinion.
Yeah, no matter what you point to, you know, up is down, left is right, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria, right? I mean, right? And so that was kind of the idea, but again, this was the first song that we did, and actually Cooper hit it. We got the basic riff down, if memory serves, and then he came up with that killer guitar part for it. That you hear, the kind of refrain that's throughout the whole song. And I know that he helped rearrange the chorus chord progression too. I think we cut one out. He put one inversion in that I think C sharp minor over A. I think he put in, and it was it was again he's very musical. When you have someone like that, you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's put that in. You know, that sounds much better. It smoothed everything out. We finished that tune. It really is not much different than that first demo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the ones that kind of came together and then stayed the same and just went to the studio and got
Well, let's check that out then. You're listening to Front and Main, and this is their track called I Know, right here on WBDY's Be Original.
Show me every.
That is one tasty bass line and super catchy lyrics. I just want to sing along with that thing.
That's the goal. Wow, cool, awesome, thank you. That's the goal, right? That's the goal. Get people singing along, right? If they enjoy it as much as you do, you know.
So you two guys are like the main core of the band right now, and you have all these wonderful players. Let's give some shout outs to
Yeah, absolutely.
the people that are playing with you guys.
So going back to when we first started working professionally with the Celebration Ensemble, the tribute thing, we pulled in a bunch of musicians, and the other thing about that group is that it was a lot of work, right? That's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff.
People?
9 pieces and the prep and all that. But we had so much fun. Like everybody would show up. The text threads are epic because everybody's as sarcastic as one another, and the chop busting and it's just everybody has such a great time together. So. When we first the end of 22, when Paul and I were like, okay, let's do this. Paul was a little incredulous, going, yeah, I've been saying that for a while. Where the hell have you been? I'm like, no, I'm ready. And I said, we got to get Mary Tewksbury. I love Mary as a person, and I love her as a player, and she is she's like quintessential classic rock guitarist to me. and she just has a great vibe, and she plays very well, and she sings very well. She's cool to hang with, to work with, everything. Just super chill person. She also plays in Next to Kin, if you haven't seen them. Longtime band, 10 years they've been around. Original act out of Appalachian, and she was like the first person I was like, let's we need to. I play guitar in this band predominantly. I play guitar live.
That's crazy because I know you as a bass player, but just recently I saw you on Instagram and you're playing guitar, and I'm like, look at this guy. Not only plays bass wonderfully, but then he plays guitar too.
I will tell you this. I am bare bones pedestrian at guitar. I do it because I like it. It's a challenge. It's a chordal instrument. It helps write, I think, a little bit better. Helps me write a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But we needed a lead player because I just don't do leads on guitar. I don't have that finesse, right? So we got Marion.
And the cool thing about Mary's playing, she's got definitely that classic rock influence, and you can hear where some of the jam bandy Grateful Dead stuff comes from in her playing as well. But also, she's been really receptive to hearing how our songs are developing and kind of adapting her playing to suit the song. Like, there's some new unreleased stuff that we have. There's this one that's got kind of like a Soundgarden-y vibe, and she added some like she had the little blues bottle and added some slide to it, and it's got this nice little like swampy vibe to it, and it's just like perfect for that tune. It's so cool to see her adapt and like chameleon her way into whatever song that we have.
Yeah, she's got that ear. She's got the experience. She's got the depth, the kind of musical encyclopedia. So and really, when we come up with stuff, well, we'll explain the process later. We'll stick with people. We'll stick with people. On keyboards, for the studio session, and he joins us for most of the live show, is Samuel Lupowitz out of Ithaca. He's a killer organist. Another unbelievable musician. Yeah. Actually, you should hear him play bass. He shreds. He absolutely shreds on bass. He's just an awesome guy. He's an awesome player. He and I working together because he was also in Celebration Ensemble. When I put that, called those people, I said, I want someone from Ithaca. I want someone from Binghamton. I want someone from Owego. I try to get, from the regional bands, because let's face it, when we go out to watch, even when we get to go out and watch a show, it's always a quick, hey, how you doing? Oh man, dude, can't wait to see your set and all that. And it's always quick. It's whatever. Someone goes up to play, you're in the audience. It's always a busy night. You can't just sit down and chill or make music or anything like that. So call together your friends that you've always wanted to work with, and let's do some work, right?
That's awesome. Mm-hmm.
So that's how, I wanted to, because Sam's also a ringer. I mean, he's just an amazing player. And like Mary, he's got the ear. You can give him very little direction. Say, okay, I want it to sound something like what I said, Benmont Tench from the Heartbreakers. I said, give me Benmont on this song. Or I'd say, give me, I don't know if I said Emerson on this song or whatever. I'd name somebody, this is the kind of vibe I'm looking for. He'd just go off and do it. So that would be Sam. I decided I wanted to play guitar in this, so I had it in my mind. Jake Kurtz, I know his dad well, and used to play with his dad's band and my band way back when Jake was a little kid. Used to play together, so I have known him. I've watched him kind of grow up as a player and as a person, and not only is he one of the coolest people, right? He's, again, just super chill, super nice guy, right? Really, really pro. Fantastic player. And, in my head, the way that I heard it, I was like, okay, I know how I'm going to play bass. You know how you're going to play bass. I know how I'm going to play bass. I don't want me playing bass. That's
really interesting that you would take yourself kind of out of that and put yourself into a different role that, you're not as, you're confident in both, but you're, known for being a bass player.
Yeah. It's more. It's for me. It was more. It's getting to stretch, right? It's stretching and pushing you, right? And I'm not saying that I'm bored playing bass. And Jake's hasn't made a couple shows, so I ended up playing bass that night for the show. And I still, it's not like I don't enjoy it. Of course I enjoy it, right? But For this, I really wanted to play. I really wanted to play guitar and get a real chance to do that, and sing a lot of backup vocals for Paul. That's the other thing to do. And then thinking of bass players, I'm like Rolodexing around in my mind. I'm like, Jake just plays the way I would like to hear on this material. And
there's been plenty of times where we're going through a rehearsal and we end a song and we'll look at Jake and be like, yeah, that's exactly what was in my head. Thanks for playing those notes.
Yeah.
Like, thanks for bringing that out.
It's quite uncanny because we do. I mean, Jake and I have a lot of similar musical influences, but also different. He's very much into the Fish and more in the jam stuff, which I still enjoy. I just don't play it.
Right.
But he brings that kind of element and that kind of flavor. So he's very much a Mary on bass, really, if you think about it. Right, has those kind of influences. So that was great. He also has a lot of studio experience, and we were looking for that as well, because we were like, if we're going to go in and nail this and it's going to sound awesome, you need the players that don't look at the red light and go.
Right.
For drums was interesting.
And still is to this day.
It still is to this day. The drummer can make or break the band, right?
Sure.
We always know that. So I've been backing up Maddie Walsh now for almost 3 years, both her solo stuff and the blind spots. And at one show in particular, she had to get a sub drummer, and it was Ashley Ikas from Ithaca. And I heard Ashley's name. I've seen some of her YouTube clips or Instagram clips. It's absolute, just like mind-blowing drummer. Just killer. Like anything, can play anything, right?
Sure.
So I said, she did this backup gig. She took the gig on short notice. I mean, I've done that too, right? But like when someone prepares themselves as well as they do for that kind of a show, and she just had it. I was like, all right.
She's
She's
mental note.
She's a player. Yep, this is someone. And then of course I instantly locked into her playing. Sweet. It was just made it seamless. And we had a killer show. So I called her and said, hey, I got a couple tunes. I don't know if they're you're into stylistically, but I really would like to see what you would do with them. And she was like, yeah, send them along. And she was like, oh, I like them. Let's do it. And I think that first session, the first one with the old tunes, we rehearsed one time as the full band before going into the studio one time. So like watching
nice
the stars.
to meet you. Sit down at our instruments and figure out the arrangements.
Went through them twice. Went into the studio the next weekend. And Ashley just absolutely crushed it. I mean, the whole band did, right? The whole band like came in and did their work. But she just has such a feel and such a touch, and again a very musical player. To cut to the chase, she's also when you're that good, she's also incredibly busy.
So I'm sure
you can't.
a drummer,
right? Yeah. So she's playing with a couple. She does Galactic Wednesday. She plays in the Cone Down. I know she's backing up Felix Free now. They're playing out more often. Great hip hop artist Felix Free up in Ithaca. So it was hard to get her for live shows, but just to have her do the studio stuff, you know what? I'll take it. She's actually going to be doing another session with us here coming up in another couple months. And then Jeff Tripoli.
I wasn't actually familiar with him at all until you introduced him to me. But he was the name that came out of your mouth for the tunes that we had that were kind of like very Rolling Stones influence, Four on the Floor, like heavy hitting classic rock go-tos. The name right on your lips was Jeff Tripoli. Like, he's the sound that we need for...
I had watched, so Sam Fishman, another prolific drummer, he's Driftwood's drummer, but he backed up the Gun Poets for a year and a half. We didn't have a kind of like rotating drummer seat. And then he's also in Maddie Walsh's solo. So I played a lot, and then I did a couple albums with him. I did Maddie Walsh's new album that's going to get released this year. We did that together. I did an EP with him at Wilburland for another artist, and then we did a single at Wilburland. So I had done a lot of work with Fishman. Fishman's also incredibly busy. He's an incredibly busy drummer. He's booked a lot. Obviously, Driftwood's doing some, when they're out on the road, they're doing major touring. And he said, "Hey, Jeff Tripoli's not in the Town Pants anymore. I think that was the big band he was in." He was like, "Yeah, I think they disbanded or whatever. They were around 20 years." So I called up Jeff. I sent him demos. I said, "I could really hear this." Well, Jeff's got the whole studio set up in his. He's got multi-tracking right in his home studio.
Yeah, it was less than 24 hours he had turned around and sent you back multi-track to add to our demos.
I had, so
like, okay.
we're just demoing. We're just demoing, right? It's just scratch stuff. We're demoing, but we're building it up.
Sure.
He sends back an 8-track drum take, and I'm like, yeah. And another guy that I said, "Hey, well, God, geez, now it's his name's Bill, unless Rolling Stones."
I'm terrible at this
It'll come, and I can't believe. I think I just may have pissed or ticked off the rock gods because I can't remember. Recall his name instantaneously. Anyway, I said, "Hey, Rolling Stones drum for this thing." That's what he sends back.
Who is on Throwing Stones?
So that one is that's Jeff Tripoli, Jake, Sam, Mary, me, and Paul.
Okay. And what's Throwing Stones about?
So that one started out as a lot of times he'll send a riff along and something like, "Here's my idea," and it'll be called RSRO, the Rolling Stones ripoff. But this one was just titled Throwing Stones instead of Rolling Stones ripoff. And I was like, Throwing Stones, yeah, I could probably do something with that, and just started kind of writing some nonsense lyrics, and then it kind of just came together as like a general positive affirmation of like going out and grabbing the day by the horns and kind of living in the moment and trying to,
if I may, because I know I'm a chatterbox, just so you know.
That's okay. Makes for good radio.
We were driving up to the first session at Sunwood. You said, "Hey, put Throwing Stones on," and that's where you sang the melody
for
and the
the
words
chorus.
for the chorus. No, you had the verse too. So we're driving up. He's just singing along with the scratch track that had no vocals in it, and I'm going, "Oh, that's absolutely killer." I said, "We're definitely recording that. Not today.
Don't forget
it."
Okay, we can do
All
some
right.
of that.
Let's get to it. This is Throwing Stones by Front and Main right here on WBDY 99.5 FM, Be Original.
Get up, today could be the day that you take it.
One of the things we set out when we formed the band and pulled the players together, knowing that it was going to just be Paul and me, really are the band, and everybody else kind of hired in, although we're working very closely with them. And then with respect to how busy they are in their other projects, because everybody else is in another project. Everybody's working. So, I didn't want to do the book every weekend type thing. I wanted to do, let's make our shows an event. Let's try to get people excited to come to them. And so you don't do that many club shows. And then we hit, very fortunately, Paul's got a great network. I've got, just for playing around, got a network. We got into, a couple of the really cool festivals to play at.
What festivals have you played?
So we were supposed to do
The Rec Park
Music Fest, but the first one got rained out, and then I was on vacation, and I think you were on vacation
out of the States
on the makeup day. So we missed that, but we were on that bill, which was great. Really, Jim Moran does some fantastic stuff, and he's doing even better stuff now that he's retired from his corporate job and working with the Chamber of Commerce in Binghamton there. But we played Ithaca Fest, which was huge for us because, I do most of my work out of Ithaca. We had a great crowd, and they stayed the whole time, and it was brand new music for them. And
it was good to see the crowd started out like a little bit sparse, but they just kept filtering in, and they didn't walk back the other way. So you're
doing something right.
Yeah. And so we played Barleycorn's our hometown bar, and now that Johnny Mac owns it, he's a curator of music. He's so in the regional scene. He's got, again, great connections and stuff. He's turned that place into a music house again. And really, if you've been around in the area for a while, you knew that back in the heyday, it didn't matter Friday or Saturday, you walked in the bar of the corner, you knew you were going to see a killer band. It didn't matter who it was. They were going to be awesome. He's got that vibe back now. So like people are going there again, and you put 80, 90 people in the bar of the corner, it's like Wembley, right? And they love their music, which is so awesome. Everybody's really appreciative of that. They're very supportive. But North Brew has done a tremendous job. Talk
Zach
about a
is
place.
A great supporter.
He's great of the original music. Talk about a place that's not their business. It's a brewery, right? They make beer and they sell beer.
Right.
But then Josh Kennedy came in, started curating and building up this original thing. We're only doing original music. They bring in singer-songwriters. They started expanding, doing full bands. I know Kid Bess has played there with the full band. And I know Grown Ups have played there. I know, I saw the other band that Chris James is in there. Making Strangers. Went and saw Making Strangers there. And
Nick Rufo.
Nick Rufo played
Packs
there.
the place out.
Awesome.
And they're just doing they're filling the void that I feel Cyber and Callahan's left when they closed, because they were the original friendly places, right? And I'm not saying that other places aren't, but I also understand from a business aspect, a bar's business is to sell booze and food. It's the music helps, but sometimes it hurts because it costs them. You start looking at like what Johnny Mac's doing, what North is doing, making an event. They're making it a place. This is what you're going to get if you want this this type of experience. That's what we have, and it just adds. It's additive to it. It doesn't take away. I think that's why they've been, one of the reasons they've been successful. They've been able to integrate it with their main business. And they've done a great job. Atomic Tom's opening their doors, right? Tom Haynes opening his doors and saying, okay. And I love the fact that they're not just open, they're not just open. No, it's an event space. So when you go there, it's an event. People purpose go there. I think that helps build the brand, the reputation, everything that goes along with people. They associate, going to Atomic Tom's, I don't really care who's playing. My friend may be playing or another group may be playing, but you know what? I'm going to have a good time.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
So what about Front and Main?
So I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry. So we haven't lined up our entire schedule yet because I'm still waiting to hear back. But we're hoping for Ithaca Fest. I'm hoping for Downtown Concert Series in Ithaca. I'm still waiting to hear back from both of those. I of course put our name in for Grassroots, but
so doesn't every band in the area.
So does every band in the area. I hope, I haven't talked to Jim Moran. I was hoping to get us back into Rec Park Music Fest, but around those kind of anchor festivals in our region, right?
Where can folks go find information on the band?
Frontandmainband.com. Everything, we're old school. I mean, you can go to the Facebook page too, but the website will link to Spotify, Amazon, Apple, our YouTube channel. That's really the central
probably
place.
Have a YouTube link to this particular interview.
Yes, it will be. Yes, it will be. It will be put up. It's a total 1990s website because I'm not putting a ton into it. I'm just making it very basic, but it has all the information.
It has everything that you need.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick question before you leave: what are your your favorite local band?
Oh, that's oh, come on. Oh, I can't say that. Let me
Will you piss off too many people?
It's not even that. It's that I legit can't say that. I can't say that I have a favorite. There's bands that I am really enjoying right now. I've always been a big Kid Bess fan. Always. I played with her for a year. And she just got a vibe. She's got and the band she's playing with now that she's assembled now kind of fit that like a glove. So I really enjoy her shows.
She's awesome.
Yeah, really.
What about you, Paul? Put you on the spot, right?
Choosing just one's so tough. I guess if you want to bring it back to the content of the lyrics and listening to the words behind the melody, one of my favorite groups locally has to be Driftwood. I think that every single person in that band can sit down and not just part right for each other, but come up with some really stirring and moving lyrics. And also, I'm actually friends with everybody in the band, so that does
Shout out to Driftwood.
No, see, I can't. I almost don't think Driftwood's at another level. They're a national. They're a national band. You know,
But are they? They're from here, right?
They are from here. I guess in my mind, I don't classify them as local. Crazy is crazy. In my mind, it's like, no, they happen to live here and they're from here and they started here, but they've, their music has and their talent has brought them to, the horizons we all wish we could aspire to, right?
Yeah, I've seen them play out in the barn behind the choking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
guys.
And you know what? I always see them on the big stages. That's where when I run into them, it's always at Blue Heron or at Grassroots or at the other at the festivals. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I guess in my compartmentalization, I'm like, oh, okay. I was thinking kind of local, regional level.
Last question. You have the EP, you have the 2 singles. When can fans expect the next Front and Main release?
Well, when this releases, we will probably be just a couple weeks shy of heading into the studio for our next batch of tunes. Hopefully we'll get 3 or 4 recorded, and then we're going to be just kind of, instead of waiting and releasing an album this time, we're going to go more in that modern style of release where you just do a single.
Right.
So we'll just kind of be, when one gets mixed and mastered, we'll send it out to the public and keep doing that for as long as we still have tunes that are ready to go.
Sounds like you do.
Yeah.
I wish we had some more time. We're kind of right up against it. So will you come back when you release another single?
I would love to. This
Awesome,
is great.
man.
We really appreciate your time and having us on here. Thank you very much.
It's definitely a pleasure. So let's go out with one more track. We have, appropriately, When I'm Gone. What's the song about?
Lyrically, this one was just kind of me thinking about legacy and thinking about, how people are going to remember me when I'm gone, and hopefully it's in a happy light, and don't be sad for me because it'll all come back around, kind of thing.
And musically, I literally said, I'm going to write a song using G, C, and D. I'm not kidding. I said, I'm going to find everybody else and their grandmother does it. I'm going to find a way to do it and hopefully make it creative.
Well, it certainly works. Thank you guys so much for coming down and hanging out.
Yeah, right on.
Really appreciate
Thanks for
your
having
music. This is When I'm Gone, right here on WBDY's 99.5 FM. Be original.
When I'm gone, will you think about me? Will my memory just fade